Modern Warfare 2 is a hot pile of garbage. Oh man, for me to say that, there is definitely something wrong with the game. So let's discuss. So unfortunately, I was unable to upload a video on launch day for whatever reason. Without a doubt, I am never able to upload a video on launch day whenever a new Call of Duty comes up. Whether something comes up or I come down with something this year, unfortunately, I got sick with the stomach flu, and even after all that, after all that horrible diarrhea that I went through, none of it came as bad as the diarrhea that this game had at launch. Oh my goodness. This game should have been delayed, but knowing Activision, there was no way and no chance that this game was going to get delayed. They are very picky with their deadlines, even if it means producing and releasing a more polished and refined product. They were not going to delay the game, so that was to be expected. You guys know that year-round joke where even after the beta, people say that the full game will essentially be the beta. Well, I think they took it a little too literal this year, with the exception of the new modes that they brought, like campaign and Spec Ops, but that's in their own separate category. We, of course, have more weapons, even though it doesn't really feel like that. And of course, we have camos. The camo grind is a lot more simpler this year, but that's besides the point. The game has missing features, and that, of course, is being said with our current knowledge of the game, and I will be discussing that later in the video. So, yeah, let's get into it. The game has missing features. Weapon tuning has been brought back. It was taken out a couple of days ago for some mysterious reason. I'm assuming it wasn't refined or tuned enough. Maybe there was some kind of exploit going on with it, but it was mysteriously taken out. They've then brought it back, and I see no difference with it. So that was kind of mysterious. There are missing maps in the game. For example, the museum map that we had back in the beta is no longer in the game. I'm assuming because it was too big for 6v6. Maybe they might bring it back for season 1 when they introduce some kind of game mode that can hold more than just 6 players. But in my opinion, I didn't really like it. It was too big. There was too much open space. It was not a good map. And then we also have the Greenberg Hotel that was since brought back, and you'll see in the gameplay later in this video. But supposedly there were some legality issues with the hotel manager, and he was, I guess, unaware because this map is supposedly based on a real life location. I'm not sure how the issue was reintroduced. I'm not sure why the manager suddenly brought it up. I'm assuming he didn't know about it. I don't know. I'm not a game developer. I don't know how legality issues work when it comes to making maps, but has then been brought back. So in reality, we only have like 10, 9, 8 maps in the game. That's excluding the Invasion and Ground War maps. So in reality, we have only like 8 maps, and a majority of them are just garbage, in my opinion. I don't like playing them. I hope in season 1 we get some new maps, but even then, my first impressions of the game are still pretty sour. The game crashes way too much. I've heard stories of people's PlayStation 5s getting bricked, which is kind of interesting. I wouldn't expect that to happen from a reliable game developer like Infinity Ward, of course. But yeah, I'm playing on PC, so really all I experience are a couple frame rate issues. But it's the first launch week. It's barely the first week, so I'll give them the benefit of the doubt because every Call of Duty game at launch is never perfect. With the servers and things of that nature, that's to be expected. I'll give them that. But even then, there are still some things we need to talk about. Missing barracks and leaderboards. Yeah, we don't have any leaderboards, barracks, things of that nature. The UI was still way too confusing to navigate. I guess they didn't really take our feedback into consideration in the beta. But from my perspective, over the past couple of days, and it has since then changed, this is pure laziness on their part. They have over 3,000 people working on this game, and all 3 studios contributing to each game. I'm not sure if you guys know this, but over the past couple of years, all 3 of the Call of Duty studios have been contributing to each other's games. So even with all that, they still couldn't managed to get this game polished in time for launch. So it makes me wonder what they're actually doing over there in Infinity Ward Studios. But this kind of horrible launch made Vanguard look like a masterpiece. I mean, Vanguard, uh, as you guys all know, was not that good of a game. But even with that, the launch was a lot more polished than this game. But even after all that, I kind of have this theory in my head, which I guess it's really not. But I'm gonna go ahead and put my tinfoil hat on. But I got kind of a conspiracy theory. The reason why we don't have barracks and leaderboards and of course a combat record is because it's going to be exclusive to each season. So similar to some DMZ games, at the end of each season, essentially everything resets. So your stats will reset, your combat record, things of that nature will reset. So I think this decision is heavily influenced by the introduction of Warzone and DMZ. You know, so that decision is definitely up for up for grabs because I'm over here talking about how the game doesn't have leaderboards and how it's an incomplete product when in reality this is probably intentional for them. They are probably doing this on purpose, and this is probably how Call of Duty is going to be probably for the next 3 years. This new age of Call of Duty that they keep mentioning that really isn't better than the old age of Call of Duty. So I think this is really how it's going to be for the next couple of years. We're going to have a combat, record and leaderboard that is solely seasonal and will be based off, each of the seasons that comes out. So after that, we also have hardcore that's not in the game. It is a big part of the game. There's a huge hardcore community out there that is very upset. They renamed it to Tier 1. In a blog post they made around a week ago, they stated that Tier 1 was going to be in the game at launch, but since then has been changed to say that Tier 1 will be coming in Season 1, which kind of upsets me. I don't want hardcore to be exclusive to season. I think it's a core feature of the game that should be there at launch and should be there permanently without being totally dependent on a season. But even after all that, it's coming in Season 1. Of course, when all the microtransactions start to roll out, because that is the priority of the game. Blueprints and skins, man. What a time we live in. But, even after all that, even after all this negative talk that I have about the game just made history today, making around $800 million in the first 3 days that it's been out. And that has beaten Modern Warfare 3 back in 2011. If you guys are unaware, Modern Warfare 3 back in 2011 was the best-selling Call of Duty of all time. I believe it still is. Black Ops 3 might have came in second, but by the looks of it, Modern Warfare 2 2022 is catching up with that, which is kind of surprising because, well, not really, because this game gives you the option to buy the Vault Edition twice, and of course, Call of Duty nerds are taking advantage of that because they need those double XP tokens. And you can get additional ones by essentially buying the Vault Edition twice. So maybe that has something to do with those $800 million in sales. So even after all that, I got a couple things to say to Infinity Ward and Activision that might or might not matter to them. But of course, first impressions matter. We saw this in games like Cyberpunk 2077 back in 2020. The game had a horrendous launch, and even right now, the game is fully optimized and works really well. But because of that horrendous launch, it kind of has a bad reputation to it now. So even with Modern Warfare 2019, the game had a horrendous launch. The game was on the verge of dying and being put out to be one of the worst COD games of all time. But they were lucky that Warzone was able to save their asses and revive the game in some way, shape, or form. So they got lucky that time around. And they also are lucky this time around, too, that they have Warzone 2 coming out in just a couple of weeks. So, yeah, I think as a consumer, we should feel disrespected for this kind of behavior. But, I'm just some guy ranting about Call of Duty over the internet. But that's all for today. If you guys want to see more, Call of Duty related content, be sure to like, favorite, and subscribe. This isn't my full review. That'll be coming in the future. I want to put some more time into this game. But that's all from me today, everyone. Have a good one. Peace out.